Apology. Oh, I'm so sorry. Apologies and changes in membership. Do we have any apologies? Do we have any changes in membership?
We've had apologies from Councillor PC Wilcox not attending. I haven't had apologies from anyone else, I believe. Councillor Price is on his way. So, and Alex is on, on leave, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all noted. Minutes. So I've just had this explained. Because the last meeting didn't take place because it wasn't quorum. The meeting before are the minutes that we're being asked to approve. So to confirm it's true record and to note the summary, which I've signed, which is to say that the previous meeting didn't go ahead. So I've signed to say that. What we just need to do is confirm as a true record the minutes I have in front of me, and you should have papers. So I need propose and a seconder for that. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so I'll second it then. It's getting good. So that's in order, isn't it, Joseph? That's in order. Those in favour, Andrew. One abstention because he wasn't here. This is good. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so, declarations of interest. Any declarations, Martin?
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I need to, but I'm chair of Newport Carisbrooke Community Council. So obviously where the harbour is part of that area.
That's fine, Martin. It's good to have you here. Actually, I know this might be contentious, but I think the link is quite useful at times in some of our town and parish interests that we hold, all of us. Thank you, Martin. Election of vice chairman to the committee. This is going to be good. We are looking for a proposal for a vice chairman, Martin and Andrew. Would you like us to defer that and come back to that if I'm able to do so when Matthew's here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And vote on it, and vote or wait until Matthew comes. That's the point I'm making. He won't. No, let's make a decision in his absence. But that's what I like. It's great. Yes, he won't vote that way. We would. Thank you, Andrew. So we've had a nomination. Do I have a second? I will second that. Those in favour then of electing, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, Matthew, you just missed the vote. We knew that you wanted to be vice chair, Matthew, so we quickly got in before you got here and sorted that out. We've just elected in your absence, Martin as vice chair of this committee. Matthew, I hope that, I'm so sorry, Andrew, and I hope that accords with your own views. Thanks. Public question time. Do we have any public questions? No public questions. And actually, got the press. Louise, bless her, used to come and sit here, didn't she? Huh? She's serving teas and coffees up in St Helens now. But there we are. Finance report. So Newport Harbour draft annual finance report. That's pages 13 and 14 in our papers. Who wants to do that? You, Lawrence?
Yeah, Alex would usually cover these off, but he's asked me to cover them. I think there's the last year's sort of a draft outturn for both harbours, and then there's the predicted position for this year. And there's not really anything that stands out on any of those. The the bottom line position, well, the expenditure for last year was 227,000 against the budget of 237, so it's £10,000 underspent. The income is about 291 and the budget is 273. So against budget, we're 27,000 to the good for the sort of the draft outturn. I don't think that's going to change much. I don't. I mean, some of the underspend is in the staffing, and it's not a lot of money. The additional income is sort of spread across a number of different budget headings. So there's not really too much that stands out there, unless anybody's got any questions on that one.
Any questions? No, it's good to see. It's good to see it in better than 23,000 in profit is better than 23,000 loss, isn't it? Could I just ask about whether we ever considered or went ahead with the pontoon?
We're currently working through that. It's twofold. We've got two issues. We got given that small capital allocation to join the two pontoons. The pontoon we want to join to up at the Folly isn't ours, so we need to seek permission from Green King, and we're currently working through getting Green King to sign off for it. But the other thing that we've got running side by side with it is that currently Folly Ventures act as our agent up there for collecting of visitors' fees. And the agreement for them to do that was a 5-year agreement, and that expires next end of March. So we've got a couple of things that are running side by side at the moment. We're trying to re-procure that agreement, and we're also trying to get agreement from Green King to join the two pontoons together. So we are working through it. It was something that Sean was leading on before he left, Sean Newton.
Thanks, Thomas. Nothing further on.
The next one is the to-date position, and I think probably forecast-wise, it looks, from the work we've done so far, the forecast for the expenditure would come in and around budget, and the same with the income, but with the income is anticipated to be a little bit more. The only sort of caveat to that is that we have a lease arrangement with the boat building company on the harbour that finished last year, and that hasn't been taken up again by anybody else. So we unless somebody steps in and hires that from us. I think we thought that was about £20,000 a year did come in from them, so that could be a bit of a pressure on the income.
Hello, Ray. It's too much. Apart from Ray, we have appointed Andrew as vice chairman of this committee. Other than that, we've just had the up-to-date financial report. Matt.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because I hadn't thought of coming through anyone connected to the harbour, but I don't know if you know, there's someone been desperately trying to take that building over. There's a firm that have been desperate to they had 3 vessels they wanted to build in Newport, and from what I've been told, and I apologise if I'm going to offend anyone here, but they said that property services have just absolutely not got back to them on multiple different elements of it. As of 2 weeks ago, because I spoke to Julie Jones-Evans about it, and I said, they were still at that point willing to. 2 of the vessels have already had to be built on the mainland, but they still have another one and potential other orders coming up. And I think they were also, as part of the deal, they were looking to clear the unit out as well, so they would take it as it is and reuse what's already there if they can. So I just wondered if anyone can let us know anything about.
Can't really shed any light on the sort of the arrangements between them and the property team, but it's a bit difficult for us because when Sean was in place with us, the leases and licenses were managed by a person that worked for us. When Sean left and the change of departments, that person's moved across to property. So we don't have a direct link with them now, apart from the fact that that person has visited a couple of times and Jonathan has showed them around the area. Oh, excuse me, sorry, I left that on. But we were talking about it this morning. I'm not quite sure on where the negotiations are between property and them, but we can endeavour to find out.
Could I put them in touch with you maybe? Because they're getting nowhere.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, give
Yeah,
it my
you
email
might be
address
able to
if
be
you
the
want.
conduit that will
Yeah,
help.
that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah.
thanks for
I
that.
think- I think-
And
Sorry, interrupt. I think it's probably quite difficult because the council have got rid of officers that used to deal with things, and now that person that deals with the leases and licenses is moving to property and has probably got a lot of more things. So they've probably got a lot on their plate. Not made, I don't know that, but
Right,
Apologise for being late. What property are we talking about?
It's-
it's Twin Seas building. So it's directly behind the Key Arts, in between the hotel and you know where the 4D Sports building is. It's the one back from there where the crane is. Yeah. That was and it was the company that was in there before.
Twin
Twin
Seas, and
Seas.
then it was Ali Tech or something that used to build boats as well.
Yes,
Back
yeah,
in the day, yes.
Thank you.
What's the arrangement with leases and in regards to leasing that building out? Is there still a restriction of 3 years on that, or has that been removed now? So anybody coming in would get their technical permits.
I think the only stipulation on shorter term leases, I think, would be from our end. Yeah, and I think prior to sort of this, I think the regeneration plan for that area, it may be something the council wouldn't want to grant a long-term lease because that may be part of the plans, but I suppose it would depend on who was coming in, what they had to offer as to how long they took a lease for. But you're exactly right, it used to be 3 years, but that's changed on the new Harbour revision order. That's not the case anymore.
Because they would need a longer term, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
For capital expenditure, as we all know. Excellent, thank you.
I do think so Jonathan probably be able to clarify a little bit more, but those sorts of organisations, they haven't got a lot of infrastructure, have they? They're not a massive capital outlay to start with. They need the space. So I'm pretty certain that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, I think some of them would like slightly longer than what they were granted under the old HRO, which was 3 years, I believe. But most of them, they're quite happy because they just want a large space under cover. And those ones are that one's slightly restricted because it doesn't have a water, doesn't have main sewers. It's got very few services in the building.
thanks, Ray. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for bringing that up. That's interesting to hear. As an action point, I think we should note that this committee would like an update from Property Services urgently, which we will circulate by email to members. We cannot wait, in my view, until the next meeting on that. So I'll get that circulated. So the action would be to contact Sharon, I guess, as head of Property Services, although it'd be one of our officers doing that. And this committee is asking for an update on the position of the leasing of that building. Yep. You okay with that? I'll get that information to you. Thanks. Thanks, Lawrence.
The next one would be the Ventnor. And last year's position was the position, or the arrangements changed last year in the fact that we weren't paying to have the dredging completed. We entered into an arrangement with Ventnor Harbour Management Committee, which came in slightly cheaper. So last year the budget for the expenditure, we had 120,000 and we actually spent 93, so we were under. But some of that budget was offered up as a saving going forward. So this year, the budget, the expenditure budget reflects better the contractual arrangement we've got with the Ventnor Harbour Management Committee. And again, for this year, the expenditure budget is 90,000 and it's forecast to be 91 spent. The income from there, we get just a flat income from the lease for the fishery there, which is 12,000, and that is that will come in. So pretty much in and around budget forecast for this year.
Thanks, Lawrence. You, for those, will recall it was this committee that decided on that arrangement for Ventnor Harbour. And therefore, as Lawrence said, we are clearer about the costs of that harbour now. Now it's under the new arrangement and management, which is encouraging because we were under financial pressure on that harbour. Whereas Newport all seem to generate an income. And any questions on Ventnor? We're trying to keep Ventnor moving, as you know. Right. Thanks. You're okay, right? Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Lawrence. And the current one on Ventnor? Same thing, isn't it? It's exactly the same thing. Of course. And that was the outcome that we forecast when we took the original decision to go into this management arrangement. So thanks for that, Lawrence. The report of senior harbour master for Newport Harbour. Well, do you want to go through all of them, Jonathan, rather than me just call them out one by one?
If I can just do a highlight of all of them combined, and then any questions, probably easier. So since January up to the end of August, we have had 1,899 overnights, with a total including short stays of 2,340 visiting yachts for at least one short stay or overnight. So we're doing very well on our numbers, considering the summer didn't quite start with a bang, did it? It sort of more started with rain and strong winds. The harbour's had a great use of events down there, including Riverfest, Isle of Wight Festival, Go Electric, and also used by the Illuminated Carnivals rallies. We've had 4 or 5 boat clubs coming in with bringing numerous boats with them. Other things, we've had a multi-agency taxi inspection operation that's been held there. Works-wise, the last of the Folly chains were replaced, so we now know that they're all good for a while. The harbour launch was lifted out, and because there was an empty shed, we managed to actually renovate it quite well. And that's now been surveyed, and its licence has been renewed for the next 5 years. You'll see there's been a fair few incidents and emergencies. Most of them are quite minor, but they were worth noting. If you notice, there seems to be a lot that happened around the 20th of June for that weekend, for some strange reason of the Isle of Wight Festival. Most of them have not been a major problem. It's boats going aground because they left too late, or they were trying to get to the first stage act. We've had a couple of boats running out of fuel. We had a couple of boats that have lost their moorings, but we haven't had anything majorly troublesome. The only thing was we had a reportable accident that a lady stepping off her boat slid and hurt her ankle, but that's been reported. Other than that, yeah, it's gone rather well. We still need to litter pick up everyone every day. And with the heavy rain at the beginning of the year, a bit of a problem making sure all the drains stayed clear. But all in all, the last 6 months has been good. Any questions, please?
Thank you, Jonathan, for that. Pricey, at least. Interesting to see all around the Isle of Wight Festival, people coming in and not getting out on their boats, but yeah. There being no further questions, and thank you for that, Jonathan. That leaves us just. Sorry?
Ventnor.
Yeah.
Ventnor Harbour, they've managed to dredge, they've had the pump running for 693 hours. Some of it in January was because the pump was being repaired. A lot of the time it hasn't been necessary because the wind directions haven't been in the right direction to blow seaweed in. So obviously if there's no seaweed, they don't have it on. The new management system is working very well. They're conducting daily checks. There haven't been any recorded incidents or emergencies there. And they've added some Versadock, which is sort of semi-permanent pontoons, which has allowed them to get another 3 moorings berths within the harbour. So they've actually managed to increase the numbers from sort of 5, 6 to sort of 9 now. So it's doing, yeah, they managed to get more boats in, which is good.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ray,
What sort of lengths are the boats? Are they visitors' boats, yachts or motorboats for those extra moorings?
The extra moorings are up to 7 meters. The nice thing with them being on Versadocks, which means instead of being tied alongside, they're actually driven up on top of, which means that they can go for slightly less, what's a nice way of saying it, robust boats. So rigid inflatables and such. When the weather's rough, the old ones used to get quite heavily contacting with the pontoons with the waves, and they could pop. Where they're on top of a pontoon, they don't bounce into anything, they just go up and down. So it makes it a lot better. Visitors, they have started to do, so far they've had 3, but they've had people that are interested or booked, but because the weather's been so interesting, let's say, they've only had 3 stay in August, but it is something that they're looking to improve.
thank you, Jonathan. You okay with that, Ray? Yeah. Any further questions? No further questions. Thank you, Jonathan. Leads us to one final item, which is the amendment to terms of reference. So to discuss changing,
Done the get well plan.
eh?
Done the get well plan with Ventnor, just.
I think that wasn't that part of your plan?
We've got senior harbour master reports. now.
Yeah. Apologies, I thought we were going to do that as a pricey, so sincere apologies to you all. Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, the get well plans that were attached, and because we didn't have the last meeting, they were updated ones from then. But what the get well plan is, it's all of the actions that come from our designated person's visits. Now, the get well plan was based off of the get well plan, the Port Marine Safety Code visit last September. 2 weeks ago, we had our annual visit for this year. So really the get well plan stuff that's there has all been signed off. And really, I'll just summarise on it. We're waiting on the report to come through from David, our DPS, but his initial report to us is that Newport is compliant, and all of the issues that were in the report from last year have been cleared and signed off. And Ventnor is now compliant, which it wasn't last year. So all of the issues that were on the get well plans for Ventnor and for Newport for last year have been cleared off, and he's given us a clean bill of health for this year. He will have his report to us in the next week or so, of which we plan usually to have David visit the committee in person. He usually presents that in the January meeting. So it's just sort of a bit of good news, really, that both harbours from the work that Jonathan's done are compliant.
Any questions about that? That's comforting news again.
I mean, yeah, just to say, I know I've said it before, but back to where we started, and the whole reason this committee was formed was because of what a mess it was in. And and a hats off to everyone involved, and you in particular, Jonathan, for getting everything in order. I mean, there was a time where we thought we would never be compliant, wasn't there? At the beginning, there was so much to do. So well done to everyone.
Agreed. Yeah, well done. We say that quite often, but it's been a journey and one well trodden. But we are pleased and proud that we've managed to get to this point on it. So thank you for all of those involved in doing that for us. And apologies for that. I did. And so we'll move on to the item amendments terms of reference to discuss changing the frequency. Lawrence, you just want to give us a brief idea of what you're proposing?
This committee meets every 3 months, or traditionally has met every 3 months. I think I think it was at a meeting that I didn't attend last time, but Alex and Jonathan were keen that, and through the advice of David as well, that we probably don't need to meet as frequently. We could make the meeting 6 monthly. Our only sort of caveat to it being 6 monthly is that we would need to have the December, January meeting, because that ties in with the regular audit that we have from David in September. So it gives him a chance to give us the report and then him to present to us. And probably, Jonathan said, the June, July one would be the 6 monthly after that. So we would propose having the next meeting and then changing after that next meeting, if that is amenable with everybody.
So that's reasonably clear. I'll come to you, Ray. The proposal is that we move to 2 meetings a year, and in that change, if we agree to do this, we will go ahead in January with this meeting and then start 6 months later in June or July. Right.
Am I wrong? Are we changing the format of meetings come after May with the new election? Did we not go to a new style? So January will be basically our last meeting, would it not? Before it changes to the committee style meeting, isn't it? Have I got that wrong?
What's that? Joseph, do you want to talk about the committee system structure?
Yes, well, very briefly. Yeah, my understanding would be this would continue on this basis under the new system very broadly, but I can circulate an advice note if that would help, just to clarify where absolutely.
So my understanding is that what's currently cabinet would get split into 4 separate committees that would cover resources, children's, adults. So the portfolio holders would go into 4 different committees, but existing committees like planning, licensing, harbour would all continue as they are. But I think what we were discussing upstairs was obviously the monitoring officer is currently redoing the constitution for May. So the suggestion is that we, if we're changing the terms of reference for this meeting, that we get him to do it as part of the whole restructure from May, and bring it all in at the same time. Because obviously at the moment it says on our terms of reference about the portfolio holders, so that would all need changing anyway. So if we were to change the frequency as well, then that would come under that parcel. So yeah, so it mean currently we've got a meeting booked in for January and then for March. So I guess the decision would need to be made whether March is cancelled or, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clear. How would you like to proceed, members? Matt?
I think I'd be happy to propose that we accept
Yes.
the change in line with what's being recommended to us. And it'll fit in quite nicely with a new set of councillors come May anyway, won't it? We'll all be gone then, won't we? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
If I've understood, I think there is a decision then about whether we do hold at the March meeting. I think that's in our power to decide whether we hold that now or not. We're certainly holding January anyway. So I think our decision is, do we hold the one in March? Am I right here, Joseph? Is that the decision that we're being asked to make? Shall we agree moving to 6 monthly, allow the monitoring officer to draft the terms of reference and we decide today whether or not we meet in March. Yes or no? I think.
Sorry, can I just add, I think we'd have to wait until we go through that process before we don't hold the March one, if that makes sense. So we'd have to hold the January and March one, and then we would go forward with the new. Yes.
There's no decision to make. And we can't really decide for after the committee system either. No decision to make. But the, let's just get this right. Is that
Sorry, it's just discussing, do we need your recommendation to go to 2 going forward rather than 4 would be my point. So perhaps we could have a decision on that point. Yes, subject to other changes.
so? That's the proposal. In principle, we're being asked to move to 2 meetings a year, and we do have that power and authority to do that, apparently. So there we are. Any questions on that?
Chair, I'm not sure that we have any, the constitution says that we will meet at least quarterly, so we would have
Sorry.
amend the constitution, wouldn't we?
But yeah, apologies. Just to,
Yeah.
so got.
So you may want to, there's going to be recommendations coming out of audit and governance potentially for constitutional amendments relating to the budget setting process. So, which would have to refer to full council. So it may be that you'd want to take that as a further recommendation from audit and governance. So if you can communicate that to audit and governance, that I am the chair of, we could probably roll that in if we needed to, and then we could deal with the March meeting by simply making that constitutional amendment at the same time as we do the constitutional amendment around the budget setting process. That is probably as clear as mud, but
Clear again.
but it means you wouldn't have to be saying, do we or do we not have the power to not meet in March, because you could have constitutionally dealt with it.
Sorry, can I just add on that point? So it'll be for full council to make that decision formally, but we can make the recommendation as part of Harbour committee. So I just want to, sorry, apologies, I missed that off earlier, but it's just a recommendation at this stage. I'd be looking, yeah, that's my advice.
Fact. So Chairman, I think what we need to do is put a recommendation forward that we vote on to change, to put forward to full council that this committee changes to meeting twice a year, but that won't commence until after the constitutional changes have taken place, which will be from the July meeting onwards. That's it, isn't it? So we'll meet the next 3 meetings will be as planned, won't they? Yeah.
Are you okay with that? You're okay with that?
January and March.
So
No, because
look, this is to discuss and change the frequency. Do we want to propose, are you asking for us to make a decision on that? We've discussed it. We're happy with it. Does it? Yeah. Okay, so proposer,
Happy to second it.
thank you. Okay, those in favour, we got there, Andrew. Thank you all. Finally, members' questions. There are none. There are no member questions. There are, right. Lawrence?
Apologies, I've got a couple of bits I just wanted to make you aware of, that was all. One, at the meeting we had and David attended last, it was the March meeting.
Yeah.
He highlighted the fact that his designated person training that he gives to members of this board is out of date. So I know it's a little bit awkward because we might be changing the way we do things but he was one of the recommendations that come out of his report is that he needs to conduct the training with you guys as to what your responsibilities are for being on this board. And I'm happy to liaise with him. It's probably an hour and a half of him. He's happy to do it on Teams with people. I'd be happy to arrange it with everybody if you wanted me to do that, because I think we could say we'll leave it because it might be changing next year, but I think probably it's one of the highlights of our report. We need to do it. So I would, if we could, I'd like to try and,
Do we know what that entails, Lawrence? You know, is this a sort of a 15-minute, an hour?
an hour to hour and a half, and he'll just go through the Port Marine Safety Code. He'll go through the sort of the legislation, what the responsibility of this committee is. It's quite. I mean, David's quite an interesting guy to listen to anyway. So we've done it on a number of occasions, and it's not no.
It's just about.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's okay, I'll happily
Are we
arrange it.
okay with that? And then if
Okay.
we're able to attend, okay, so we're happy with that, Lawrence, and
Okay.
those that will be able to attend will attend.
Yeah, just another sort of a,
On Teams only.
yes, yeah, do it. We are going to submit, just as for information, we're going to submit a capital bid to the process for the upgrade of the hospitality facilities at, I don't know if anybody's been in them, but they were designed in the 80s and they are really, they're not fit for purpose and they're not what somebody would expect coming into a nice harbour. So just for information, and we're going to submit,
What sort of money is that, Lawrence?
David's property team have come and looked at it for us, and for what we'd like to do and what they'd like to do, it's going to be about £120,000. I don't envisage us getting the money, but it's something that is probably worth thinking about going forward. We're going to have to do something with that. It's just going to fail eventually. And the last bit was with regards to on the harbour, outside the office buildings, there is a plaque on the wall for the Dunkirk sailings, which each year up to COVID, they do a little ceremony and clean it all off, that sort of thing. I think you probably would guide better than I, but we've got, there's another plaque now that they would like to display on the harbour, and we've also had a request that the plaques move to a more prominent area, which we haven't got a problem with. We've had a look, and underneath the flyover, as you come down towards the harbour on the left-hand side, is a redundant water fountain. Now, just past there is where they would like to put some form of structure and put the two plaques onto it. We're going through the sort of the bits with regard to do we need planning for it and all that side of it, and the permissions of who owns what bit of the wall. We're happy to progress with that. And the lady that's contacted us, I remember her name. No, I'll remember in a minute. And we're happy for them to, they'll sort of lead on it, but it's really just if anyone had any real objections to us reciting that somewhere in a more prominent position, we think it would be a good thing to do. But we didn't want to sort of crack on ahead with it without letting you know, that was all.
Thanks, Lawrence. I was cited on that letter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just in reference to that.
Any comments on any of that? Right.
The water feature fountain, wasn't that recited 6 years ago or 7 years ago? I remember there was a bit of an issue over that.
Yes, the Legion.
As I understand, it's been there for a while. The water supply was disconnected because of Legionnaires. It was plumbed in an interesting way, so it is there as an ornament, not as a practical fountain. I'm not entirely sure. I believe they may have found it in storage some numerous years ago.
Yeah, that was before your time, if my memory serves me correctly. It was before you become harbour master, my memory serves me.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further questions? Right, please, yeah.
Sorry about this. I have missed the Harbour Users Association a few times, but a couple of years ago there was talk of Julie Jones Evans redoing the harbour with a bridge and all sorts of bits and pieces. We're going to retail kiosks and such like. Has that finally been dropped? Is that no longer in existence now, that plan?
As I'm aware, Ray, it's no plans to move forward on any of those things, or container villages, or as far as I'm aware. I don't know if you know otherwise. It's pretty much dead in the water in terms of a regen project. Yeah. You're either, but you know, I hope I've conveyed the correct information. I'm not aware of it actually. And some of the numbers that I did see made it look impossible to deliver in terms of viability.
Yeah, it's not quite, it's just to comment on that. I mean, I think, you know, Newport Harbour is a thing of beauty. It's just there's not enough there. So I think we all want to see some regen. I just never liked the plan we had. Every element of it, just in my opinion, just wasn't good enough. The only thing that was Julie's vision of the cultural building. I think that element of it would have been fantastic, but the rest of it, I don't think it would have. Don't think it would have gone down well locally. It certainly wasn't going down well locally. There would have been nice things like the pedestrian bridge. There's lots of things, Jonathan, isn't there, that would have been good, but the overall scheme just missed on so many levels. So it'd be lovely to see something else come forward in the future, definitely.
But isn't that the supplementary planning document that's currently sitting on the forward plan for January this?
It
next
could
year?
well, it could
Yeah.
well be, but it remains to be challenging financially to deliver. And ironically, the cultural offer has to be funded from the very things that many people don't wish to see. That's the irony of it. The thing that you want is the thing you can't deliver without delivering the things you don't want. I think it'd be a long way off.
So you might as well drop off the forward plan then. It sounds.
Thanks for that, Ray. Anything further? Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your attendance also and your support as always. And 2:42, we will close the meeting. Close the
Oh,
meeting.
sorry, you can close the
Close it.
meeting. It's to
This
follow
is
up
after the meeting or
after
in
the
the
meeting.
meeting.
Just
So the meeting at 2:42 is closed. Thank you.
apologies. I've checked my inbox and I do know that lease by a different name and it's with me. It's been with me and I will